And we're back, bro.
Oh my God, we back.
We're back in black, and Paul has his cock in his hand.
Always, every day,
You
every
weren't gonna
day.
say it. You weren't gonna say it. I was gonna say it for you, bro. No worries, bro.
No,
I got
it's
you.
all good. It'll be later.
You
It'll
was
be
talking.
later.
You were talking about you were gonna say it. I was expecting it right off the rip. You didn't say it.
Bam,
Well,
just
guys,
bam. All right,
Bostonian
on
Thoughts
there.
is back, bro. Bostonian Thoughts is back. This is one of our first casts back in a long time. We've talked about it for a while. Coming back, we got a bunch of things figured out. You see, we both got different green screens backgrounds. We got to make sure we're repping the 617, the Boston right here. We got our
All in dark.
nice Red Sox background for it and everything. I think that's gonna stay, bro. I think it's gonna stay.
Yep, all night, every night in
That's how it's
Boston
gonna
nightlife.
be. If you guys are tuning in and you guys realize I'm on another show right now, yes, I am also part of Beantown Bros. Also, but this is the original. I had to come back. We had to come back. We had to get it going, bro.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about a little bit of a serious note, which is unusual for us here. But we think with the timing of this documentary, it's good to bring up the Gabby Petito documentary and give it a talk about, as it's sort of taking on headlines and it's getting a lot of traction, a lot of new stuff coming out about it that wasn't really revealed in the Max documentary. So we're going to jump into it. Obviously, there may be some trigger warnings. There may be some people that don't want to hear about it. If anything makes you upset or uncomfortable, feel free to back out and tune in later if you have to.
Yeah, we want to say one thing: we do not condone domestic abuse. I know I've seen a bunch of TikToks that are talking about like, oh, it's heard or whatever. No, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It's not right what he did. And we're not trying to put any blame on anybody else but Brian. Brian, you's a fucker. I'm gonna start off real quick with I don't think he's dead.
Well, you gotta tell everyone why you don't think he's dead. You can't just start it off with that. You gotta tell them your thoughts there.
37 days looking for Brian, right?
Yep.
His mom and dad show up with what within the first 45 minutes, and they find some of his belongings. Okay.
Yep.
Then you're gonna go and say that you found remains of him. And I know me and you've talked about, yes, it was in the swamplands. He could have already been eaten or whatever, decomposure. But Gabby was out there for a while too, and she didn't decompose. She was fully in her full state of mind.
Yep.
I understand it's two different locations as well. I get that. But his mom and dad brought in their own dentist, who's a family friend, to confirm it was him. Not the coroner's office or anything like that to confirm or anything. A family fucking friend, bro. That's why I honestly think that it's a load of shit. They planted something. Because how are you going to have all these different volunteers, all these different agencies looking in the swampland, and then you can't find them? But they did.
Yeah.
They did.
They found him very shortly. Parents knew where he liked to go. That's for sure.
It's not sketchy?
I mean, it is sketchy. I mean, you're going to see a lot of TikTok stuff now that's basically going to be, I saw Brian. Hashtag where's Brian. People are going to bring this up. It's going to be one of the big trail offs that happens from the documentary. I mean, just from in general, I mean, he was a very awkward guy. Like, if you go back to the very beginning of the entire thing, which took me rewatching it again last night, was that in the very beginning, he's friends with this girl that's a mutual friend between Gabby and him. He ends up moving in with them, and they get a room. He gets a room in their house, and they build a desk, and then like not even like a day later,
leaves
a note. But then if you flash forward, like literally, I don't know how long it was after, because they didn't really give a clear timeline. But then he's like, "Oh, I fell in love with this girl, Gabby." Like literally, not even a minute later. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, that's a little weird that he gets attached pretty easily.
Going to meet her at a deli too. Sorry,
and they
saw her at a deli.
Got out of his car.
Get out the car.
Yeah, so I mean, he had some weird attachment issues to begin with. It was clear. So like, if you showed him some like sort of affection or something like that, it seemed like he was ready to latch on. So, on all honesty, if you really break it down, if Batgirl had said, "Oh yeah, I feel the same way," we could be looking at a different death. Just saying, he could have had this in his head from the beginning. Whoever he got with,
and then like his friends with her, and then the friends at the high school, because he looked so much older, they thought he was like a narc
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah.
And he did look at a place. He did look way older, which we knew he was older than Gabby, which not by much though. But you can tell that he just by looking at him that he was awkward. And like she said that like he was social like
Oh, his parents said it. His parents were like he was quiet but
no,
polite.
that was
He
her.
was a little socially awkward.
Yeah, her
No, the mom
friend.
said it too when she met him for the first time. If you go back, his
Yeah,
mom actually said it too when she met him. He was like a little socially awkward. He was quiet but polite to the parents. But that's the thing with some of those guys who are in that shoe and skin where if they know how to talk when they need to, so they can make people think they're normal.
we
So
never hear from his parents. It's so we
no, we
have
never hear from them.
yeah, that's 'cause I think that's what it sounds like you're saying right now. His parents, no, her parents.
No, no,
Okay,
like
her
Gabby's
parents.
parents said that her
So
parents said that he was awkward and
yeah,
polite,
the
but polite.
stepdad and his father both said that he was polite. Like her dad would say that he would this type to look you in the eyes and shake your hand. But
Yeah,
even though they kind of felt like he was off, like it's like maybe you should tell your daughter not to be with this dude.
yeah. I mean, then you fast forward and Gabby's like, "Hey, mom, we're gonna go to Florida." All right, well, are you sure? And then like the day after, they're already driving down to Florida. Her mom always thought that he had a big influence in pulling her further away. And then lo and behold, they moved to Florida and they're moving in with Brian's parents, with his side of the family, which is a quite bizarre family if you really look at it. I don't know if you watch some of the pictures where his mom was like coming up to him while he's buried in the
Yeah,
sand and like
very
wiping
very
his
awkward.
face with
Yeah,
her bathing suit. I'm like, what are you doing? And it was just weird. And then his mom would have jealousy of Gabby because Gabby got the attention, which is weird. So that we knew right from the beginning of those pictures that we were going to see some awkward and weird stuff going on between that mom and Gabby.
but Gabby's mom is also was saying that Gabby would hit her up and start to tell her when things were changing because Brian's mom used to be okay with her, would do things for
Mm-hmm.
her. And I think they were talking about like knitting and stuff. And
Yep.
then all of a sudden it like flipped and she
Yep.
was like mistreated. And then it goes to her changing her address back to New York. I don't know
Yep.
about you, but me, it's like I see something there where it's like you're changing it back to New York. And this is like shortly before they took off on their trip.
Yep.
But I honestly think that they had something to do with it, and I'll get to of that reasoning why down the road because I know we're gonna pull up to like who
Yeah.
helped them and stuff, like find where she was. But I'll
Yeah.
explain that a little bit further because I was sent the video, and I'll send it to you later. That way you can see it. I'll post it on our page, guys, just so you can see that somebody else's view of when they drove by the van. And actually, I'll just explain it now. So they drove by the van and they could see a red pickup truck in the distance. So they're basically saying that the conspiracy theory now is that their parents were there and helped him out. You could see clearly that there's a red pickup truck on the campground.
Yeah. I mean
Sorry,
that's
my
why I
eyes are gonna
really
come
wish we
out.
could have we that's why I really wish we could have heard what was in those video recordings or those phone recordings between Brian and his mom. They had never played them. I don't think they were ever legally allowed to get their hands on them because at the end of the documentary they said Brian's parents haven't been charged with a thing. They've been filed against multiple times. Nothing's happening. And if they can get a hand on those, I would love to hear what was discussed in that phone call,
Well,
to just hear his mother.
it was what's 54-minute
It's like a 55
conversation in
minute
the first minute.
conversation, and then there's a couple other calls that span between like 30 to 15 minutes.
But
And
then
so
they called that
that they
lawyer right
were,
in between.
yeah, and you knew they were talking about something, but that's something that unless they get their hands on that, you'll never hear that, and I think that would reveal so much more. But because they haven't been charged with anything, there's really no reason for them to be able to pull those voice recordings,
But the
which
sister,
sucks.
so the sister, when she comes out onto the lawn, which I think she's a weirdo too, by the way.
Oh, she is
She comes out
100%.
onto the lawn and then she goes, I lost my mom and everything and my brother and whatever. Like nobody wants is like not talking to each other. She goes, oh, I lost my sister-in-law. And at that point, we hadn't known if she was murdered or not yet.
Hmm.
This is when they started looking for Brian or whatever, but they didn't find Gabby yet.
No, but they also then revealed that her and their mom were still texting. They're like, "Oh, they confused you with Brian, LOL," and everyone's
Yep.
laughing about it. And the surveillance, oh, they sent their crack surveillance guys. I mean, hey, you know, you got crowds all around you, trying to keep your eyes on Brian, trying to keep your eyes on the mom. It's a lot of stuff because you also have to enforce those crowds to stay off the property because crowds can't invade their property. They're entitled to their privacy, unfortunately, by the law in their home. So they had to keep that. You know, there's a lot of moving pieces. I know people weren't exactly
Yeah,
thrilled with the
people
way
don't get
things
it.
happened.
People think the law is the way that they want to interpret it and not the actual way.
Listen, that body cam footage of how that incident went down was really tough to watch. You know, it's like I said, I don't defend and I don't disagree. Maybe there could have been more done, but there's
So,
the problem is Gabby didn't want to give the right
bro, I'm gonna
information
I'm gonna
because of
give
the
I'm gonna give my side first, guys, and for many of you that don't know now, because we've been gone for so long, Paul is now a cop. So Paul's gonna give his side of it as being a cop and going through shit. Excuse me, guys, that's a little nasty. Um, so he'll give his side on being a cop and what he thinks of what they should have done, or give you the reason why they didn't do it. I'm gonna give you my take. My take is it's hard for me um, to see that a cop acknowledges that she is technically the victim, even though that she's coming off as more as the aggressor. Now you do see this in different situations where they can't do nothing because they don't want to admit. I get that, but she had physical marks. I get he had physical marks, but not the way she did. But you make it hard when you're sitting in the car, you're taking in all the information, and then you go, yeah, well, it's hard when the abuser and the victim go back to each other and then they end up dead. And it's kind of like, bro, you don't know it now, but you're gonna find out in like a week or so that she did end up getting killed, and in Brian's the reasoning behind it. But like for him, it's like he admits to pushing Gabby. And it's like, okay, so now you're admitting that you're putting hands on her in a way. And I don't think I realized that the first time, but I think once I don't have other people around me talking about it as you're trying to watch it and you get to decipher it yourself. But then he says, "Oh, I was driving erratically because she was hitting me as I was driving." And it's like, okay, so now we're just putting the blame on other people. Now it's just like, but you did admit that you put her hands on her, but you didn't admit that you slapped her, which I get. And the way that she's acting and everything about her anxiety and stuff is where I get like you can't do XYZ. But then when they all come together and they're like, I'd rather get dinged for a decision I made than a decision I didn't make. But it's like, do they get dinged for not making the right decision on to, let's say, arrest Gabby or take Gabby to holding or and stuff like that? Like, how do you think they feel now knowing that she did die?
Oh, I can tell you right off the bat, no cop ever wants to turn around and see that on the news. That's not a good feeling at all. I can tell you right now, it's a different state, so I can't really guarantee that all the rules and laws are the same. You know, the call came in as someone saw the man slapping his girlfriend, which is already a red flag. You know, they get there. The thing is a lot of the women that get abused just they won't tell the truth. They don't want to cause problems. They don't want it out there. It's something like sort of they know they got to get away, but they can't, and it's a
But they've
little
been
ashamed. And
manipulated so much too in that
they've
aspect.
yeah, and they're used to it, and it's not something that's good. I don't like it. I hate to see it. It's not what you want to see. They could have went the route of even though they were saying she was done, they could have arrested her. They could have taken her back, but at the same time, even if they took her back here in Massachusetts, there's a certain amount of time of holding as well. You know, then they got to go to court.
24 hours.
Odds are, it depends. It varies. I believe it's a total of 8 hours. So you have 8 hours from the time to hold
8 hours?
them,
I can go do something stupid now and
unless
only get held for 8 hours?
unless it's of severe nature. However, my thing with all that is it then goes to court, and neither one of them was going to show up to a court. So they probably deducted that that wasn't going to go anywhere because of the way that she wanted to stay with him, even though they just got that call. She told them she was anxiety. She didn't want to be separated from him. You know, even if they arrested her, brought her in, somehow, some way, she was going to end up back with him at that point. You know,
Okay,
the
but
parents heard about it, the parents knew about it, and even her mom couldn't get her
told
to
her to
get
come
away.
home. But bro, my question is, in your aspect of being a cop, right? Would you have brought in Brian to the domestic abuse hotel, or would you have brought in her?
So that's a variance of things because he was the one in their eyes that was the victim. That's the problem because she wouldn't say that it was him. And that's the
You can't
problem.
say
And
that
in
she
that
was soaking.
situation,
You can't say she's soaking wet 100 and whatever odd pounds, right? It basically say we know she's not the aggressor, but then still take him to the hotel. And
so with that, I can point out there's been a couple instances that I've heard about here. You know, there's women who are 110 pounds. It doesn't matter. They at the end of the day, not saying she did this, but
those are the
she could
ghetto chicks.
grab it.
If
She
you're
had a.
bringing up those ghetto chicks, yeah, they
Well, no,
swim
I'm just
hard.
saying, like if they also they have a phone in their hands, they have something that they can use that can do a little bit more than her hands.
Go get the
You know,
frying
things
pan.
it can. And the guy just, you know, I'm not saying Brian did it because I still think he put his hands on her regardless. That's my thing. My thing is that the way the story went didn't favor her going to a hotel because he said that she had her phone, she got him with the phone, she scratched him, she was like hitting him. So he made it sound like she was just going to town, and all he was trying to do was back her off. And you know, you're entitled to try and get away. Obviously, don't hit, don't push, don't try not to do any of that. But if someone's clinging all over you, which, like I said, the story was most likely fabricated, 100%. But she enforced the story by not saying anything different. So in their eyes, all they have is, all right, she saying that she hit him, she scratched him, she did all this, and she's not saying that he hit her. Like she wouldn't say, "Hey, yeah, he put his hands on me." Like they were in such a tight spot on choices that if you make the wrong decision, you saw how fast Brian's family lawyered up prior to the whole thing. They were going
That's
to lawyer
because
up again, and
I
then
think he fully on admitted to them that he killed her.
yeah.
That's me, but I mean,
But what I'm saying is his parents would go to the ends of if Gabby got him arrested for that, I can guarantee you the parents would already been on a flight, the lawyer would have been called, things would have gone down completely different. That could have happened. Problem is she was so used to that abuse and she thought she could fix him that she never said anything. That's the worst part. We saw it. She was in fear, but she knew that she was nervous of what would happen if she said something. In my opinion, if she said something, I think she already knew and she had an idea of what he's capable of. You know,
yeah,
back in that
you
they
got
talk about that a lot.
the text messages when she's hanging out with her friend,
Yeah,
and she's saying like, "Hey, I don't like the way that I love you, but I don't like the way that you're talking to me, or whatever." And her friend being like, "Yo, like you don't need that abuse and shit." And then like her friend explaining like how they went to the beach because he wanted to meet her friend, and then he's sitting behind them like a creep, like reading a book, not
yeah.
interacting.
We all knew that he was weird. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, the problem with that whole thing is it was such a bad spot to be put in as an officer because no matter what you did in that situation, you weren't going to be right when that footage came out. That wasn't a good one. It wasn't. I don't even want to use the word fair. I just want to be like he was put in a bad spot. He had to make a decision with what information he had, and the information he had was that he's saying that she beat the bag out of him, and then all he did was push her away, and she confirmed it, which made him have nothing to go on. There's time like you can go to a call and things will be like that where they just don't want it to go to jail. No one wants to go to jail. They don't want, oh, it's just verbal, nothing happened. And unless you physically saw it, you're going off of stories, and that's the way that it goes. Like you can't just be like, yeah, you hit her. All right, you're coming. It doesn't work like that. I wish it did. Unless you
No,
can
I get
physically
that, but it
it's
sucks
just
when you see the body footage and you're like, seeing like
yeah.
how manipulative he was, even with the cops.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I don't ever want to see that. That's one of my, it's every cop's worst fear is that you see this and you go, there's nothing here with the law that I can do to stop what could happen. You can try your best and do what you
So
think is correct, and that's it.
here's what I found out about Moab. All right, so Utah is a Mormon state. So I guess basically what I mean by that, and they basically have been raised throughout their whole entire life that the man is king. And so basically in certain situations in Utah, they're gonna favor the man usually. And in that case, that's why again they favored him. I know that they made him up to not be the aggressor too. So I guess that like certain situations like that, they always favor the man. And I think that's right because I don't know if you've seen it. I'm not sure if it was at the end of this one or the one I was watching on Max. They now had to do different laws now in order to be able to help women in that situation because they don't get the
Yeah,
same
like I
thing that
said,
they do out
it's
here.
state to state, depending on guidelines and stuff
You
like
know
that.
that
Like
that wouldn't have happened
the
here,
laws.
you know.
No, that probably would have been going on a lot longer too. There probably have been a lot more like digging into it, trying to get some more information. Again, it's just based on the
But if
laws per
you,
state.
but if a state police here pulled you over for that, you know that 9 times out of 10 they're gonna go with the women. Here, that's
Yeah.
Massachusetts, guys. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I said, he said different states. I did just tell you about it. That's how it is in Utah and Wyoming. So, you know, obviously, us living in Massachusetts, we're gonna be like, that would have never flew here. We know that and we get that, but we can't sit here and be like, yo, listen, it, you got to go get your cops to be like Massachusetts cops. We don't because everybody has different rules and regulations. We get that, but it's still like you guys now need to reevaluate some of the things that you guys are doing or reevaluate discretion, which I understand. Like we all have different discretion on different things, but I think like if you have that in your pit in your gut that there's a possibility she's gonna die, then you should step in some type of way. But I understand what you're saying and stuff like that, and it would have went her way to get arrested. But if that's what we had to do to get them off the street for some period of time to figure out a solution, maybe we could have done that. Maybe we couldn't. I don't know what they really could have
I
done.
look at it down the road at the end of all that, even after the body cam footage, they were going to find a way back together. She wasn't letting go. That's the thing. She, like her friend said, she believed she could fix him. That was her belief. Like that was the totality of it. If they had arrested
Well,
him,
why
it
call
went
your
to court
ex-boyfriend?
because she was calling out for help in ways
Figure
that
out a
she
way to
could.
get out.
However, if I was that ex-boyfriend, I might have, just in my shoes, I might have went down there to just check and see if everything's good. I know he was far away, but I would have maybe been on a flight and said, "Hey, this is a weird call to get. Let me go check in and see how things are going." But that's here and there. My thing is even if they had gone the route they arrested him, she wouldn't have gone to court. She wouldn't have gone. So he would have it would have been dismissed, and then they would have found their way back together. If I really look at it objectively based on how she kept trying to go back with him regardless, she couldn't be separated from him. Anxiety is a monster, and it can do those things to people. It can make them think they are dependent on someone or they need someone, and it sucks to see that. 100% awful. And if you just look at the very end of it, even if it didn't go that way and they went the arrest route, I still think somehow, some way, Gabby and Brian would have found themselves together again down the road, and it would have been bad. And I think even if you did the arrest, I think it's a temporary fix. It was all
It's
about
definitely
trying to
temporary.
get her away, but even her parents couldn't get her away. Her friends tried to tell her. It's just one of those things where she was so used to it. That was her thing. She was like, it was hard to explain. It wasn't. It
Yeah, I
wasn't
get
like,
that. Yeah, yeah, I feel you.
yeah. She was like attached, and it's like that Stockholm syndrome where they're used to it. They grow to their abuser, and it's just something that it's near impossible to tell them. You can't force someone to do it. You can't be like, hey,
No, you can't.
stay away from him.
You
You
really
can't.
can't.
There's no way. You can
Especially when
try.
you're in
You can
love with
give them
them, you
it.
know. That's
Yeah.
the thing. You're when you're madly in love and you're in an abusive relationship, it would typically takes you to get your ass handed to you. And I'm for women out there, please, if you guys are going through this right now or you know somebody, speak up or try to find some type of help. Like again, like I said, we
Yep.
don't condone that. But
There's plenty of programs here in Massachusetts. If you're in Massachusetts and
her
you know someone
her
going through this,
friend
trust me.
her friend should have stepped up and said something. Um, but again, I don't know what she could have done. But let's kind of move on because I feel like we're taking up too much time on the body cam. And we know that they couldn't do much. So they move on. They go meet up 8 hours later after he's at the hotel.
So they met up that night afterwards, that exact night. So like they didn't say an exact time. They said at the end of the night they'd already met up against the officer's wishes, and they were already on the road again.
And now
And
they end
that's
up, what is it, about 200 and something miles into Wyoming now to get out of Utah. If that doesn't tell you something, that you're going to now go out of your way to leave the state right away 8 hours later to get out of it, you know you're up to something, bro. Like I've had conversations with other people, and I said he knew at some point along this way that he was done being aggravated and done kind of, because you see the attitude with some of the videos that they've had during their blog where he shows he doesn't want to do it, or he'll mess up a shot and then she gets aggravated. You know at some point that this is all getting to you as a guy that we're already saying is a weirdo. We already think has mental health issues. We knew that he was planning on doing something. I cold-heartedly think he got her away from everybody so he can do the exact thing that he wanted to do, and he did.
Don't forget, the friend also spoke about that vlog and how he thought it was a bad idea, and the friend was very determined that that was because he didn't want them to see what he does behind closed doors. He wanted
He
to be
fucking knew he
hidden
was going
away.
to kill her.
Yep. And if you look at one of the videos in that vlog, one of the ones that he did, he gave like a fucking pissed off face after she did a flip to him, and you could see it. I don't even know if that one ever published, but had it, that definitely would have shown some red flags. He clearly didn't want anything to do with that vlog because he didn't want anyone to know what was going on in his life.
Everybody fights. Everybody fights with their spouse. Like there's not going to be a day that like you're going to have a perfectly lovely life. We all have issues in some aspect when we fight with people or friends amongst each other and shit. You know what I mean? But he fucking knew. That's all I'm going to continue to say, guys. Is he fucking knew he was going to do it. Pisses me off. And then, you go drive to Wyoming and then you have the interaction when they go to the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
She ends up going to the bathroom, and in my opinion, I think she tries to buy time because she is again trying to contact.
That's when she calls the ex, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to answer.
I don't want to pay for the bill. You know what I mean? Like, tell them to take the food off. It made me sick.
Yep. And then unfortunately, the worst part is for the ex is he's the last one to get a call. That's not, something that you want to see, and then you see on the news that she's dead. That's just going to leave a hole in your pit in your stomach where, like, how to answer that? Maybe that would have been the one that got her loose, set her free, kind of been down there quick enough. Like I said, here or there, I probably would have, the first time she reached out, maybe went down there if I had the opportunity to, or get in touch with her friends and be like, hey, yo, Gabby just hit me up. It's a little weird. I haven't spoken in a while, and that's a little odd that she wants to talk to me when she's with Brian. I get it. He was working and stuff, but maybe that's a call for help. He kind of said that he had a feeling it was. So I would have thought he would have gone 100%. Down there. I thought he would have gone down there and been like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, what is going on, Brian? Why is she? Worst case is that it could have caused another fight, but at least you're there to step in front of that and kind of deal with that situation." But I don't know. I feel like maybe he could have gone down there. But these are things that, in the end, you just look at hindsight and you can't predict it. So,
no, you can't predict it. That's the shitty part, is that that she's going through this, and I think if somebody had brought this more to light to her parents, and I think they would have been able to step in. But I don't think anybody really knew how to handle the situation where it comes down to your 22-year-old moves to Florida with this guy that for a little bit she kept telling you that they weren't together, and then all of a sudden they're together. And then they go down there within a year of being there, they fucking take off and end up on this van life trip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised.
I can handle that situation with your 22-year-old daughter wants to go on this road trip around the country.
I'm surprised their mom never went down and checked in, just once or twice. But hey, where are you guys? We're gonna come down there on like a little mini vacation. Come check in on you guys. The way that her mom had these growing concerns, I'm surprised she didn't just fly out to the most recent spot and be like, hey, where are you?
I honestly think that like Brian behind the scenes could have been taking the phone and manipulating the conversation between her mom and her. Because he
definitely could have.
He stole her ID so she couldn't go out with her friend line dancing. Yep. Just line dancing, and you stole her ID.
Yep. Like, and then he, when she was working to pay for the van, he texted her mom and said that she was hanging out with some bad people, to isolate her again. Yep. So he knew that he was just able to isolate her, and that's what he kept doing, piece by piece. And then she distanced herself from her friend. It wasn't
right. Her friend says a bunch of things about, oh, Brian this, Brian that, and then next thing you know, they're on this trip. He takes her away, just gone. Boom, I'm out.
Yep. It's all about isolation in this documentary. You see it piece by piece. He takes friends away, takes the parents away, and it's what he planned to do. He's one of those guys. It was really awkward. It was weird. He was like one of those ones where he's like, if I can't have you, no one can, basically types. That's what it felt
Yeah.
like at the very end, because he's like, well,
So
when we get down the road to the note of,
let's bring
that's
it
that's
back
when
to
it's over.
the restaurant when she tells him to get the food off. She's trying to buy time, and he doesn't want to. He's like, nah, like I'll wait for you, and then they were gonna skip out on paying the bill. This is the part that I got from the Max one where they weren't gonna pay for it. The owners come out and then they end up paying for it. So they were gonna skip out. Like we don't know if there was money problems and stuff like that, which we know there had to be some issues where that's probably a big play into it too, because they didn't have no money. They just took off on a trip, and her mom gave her $200. Like, what are you gonna do
Yeah.
with $200? And I understand like this was 2021, but 2021 was when everything started to go up.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely gonna be a money thing. My thing is I wonder if they had, there's some people who work, on the road. They have computer jobs. They do customer support. They answer some phones. The question is they never mentioned anything. They had to have some sort of internet because she was doing her vlogs and stuff like that on computer, and you still need Wi-Fi and that stuff to get that stuff on the internet. So if you plan on posting it, so they could have had some side jobs that they didn't speak of, but that's something that you won't know because it's not really for them in the documentary. It's not really important to them. And it could have helped an indication of something that they could have been fighting about. I mean, when we see the video of him at the restaurant, he's slamming the van door. And then that's Whole Foods. They get to that Whole
Yeah.
Foods, and we get the
The
last
last time
last
she was
sighting
still
of
alive, yeah.
Gabby. You see him slamming the door, of the van. So you could already tell that things were about to go a lot quicker south than we want them to. And God help us all that was the worst and last time we see her. There's no cameras in that park anywhere, so you don't see her again. You know, as you get further down that road, it's there's a lot more to talk about as far as the amount of thought that he had into doing this tells you that he had planned this a long time ago. One probably the last argument they had,
Oh,
so that he made an entire plan. Like we're gonna see that when we get to that part.
yeah. Like after leaving the restaurant, I believe it's the same day. Like I don't think they give us a timetable of like the 25th to the 28th, and then going to Whole Foods, slamming the door, and his demeanor around the store just lets you know again that you see it from the outside to the inside that there's something that's totally wrong, and we don't know what's wrong, but we know something's up, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna go a day or so later back to where you're at. You're gonna go hiking. You're gonna go take. I don't remember how many miles. Do you remember how many
It was
hike?
like 25 to 30 mile hike.
25 to 30-mile hike away from your campsite, and you're sending pictures of dead animals, mind you,
Mm-hmm.
dead fucking animals along your hike. Like you already killed her, like
Yep.
however many hours or how many minutes before, and you're sending dead animals. Like you're a sick fuck for doing that.
Yeah, it's crazy that he not only do you have to have that stone cold mentality that you just killed someone, but now you're just hiking. Like it's an everyday thing. You're hiking, you're taking pictures, you're walking, you're doing a roundabout, and you're getting a ride from
Yeah.
random people. No, my girlfriend, my girlfriend. Then you're taking a ride down. Then another person picks you up after you hike a little bit more and drives you back to it, and you just do a loop. But you did this all acting normal, had no issues. It
Yep.
didn't even just
It's a
dawn on you
ruse.
that you just killed someone.
Yeah,
You're
you're setting up
texting
a
with
ruse
Gabby's phone to yourself. You're
when you get
texting her
back.
like
Yeah.
you just building yourself an alibi. Like that's something that you think about. Unless that was decided by his mom and she's like, "Here's what you do," and she gave him the instructions, which it would not surprise me because his mom, in my opinion, I think is more of a psycho than Brian. I think there's more issues that came from her than anywhere else. I 100% believe she up here is a little bit loony. And it's crazy that she's still walking around, just free as a bird. Because I think she's the psycho, really, and I think that went to Brian. But that none of that made any friggin' sense of a normal
It
person. If
doesn't.
you're a normal person, That's not something you think of. Let me just do a little hike here, 25, 30 miles, easy day. And then I'm gonna fucking get a drive all the way back. It was
Yeah, but you
all
get so
planned.
he's stupid as fuck. So you take this 30-mile hike, like Paul said, you go and you get 2 rides. You get a ride half back, and then you get a ride by the second lady back to the campground. And then she is willing to drive you to your site, and you're like, no. You get out,
Yep.
slam the door because she's like, oh, your girlfriend
He
doesn't
was
want.
trying to get out before she stopped the car. He
Yeah.
wasn't even trying to wait until she stopped the fucking car. So
So
that was
like,
the part where he was unraveled.
so you got this guy now who doesn't want you to go bring him to the campsite, which like again, if I was him, I would have just been like, yeah, sure, give me a ride. But I wouldn't have killed somebody. Like, how are you gonna sit there, then go back to the campground? I was gonna say hotel, the campground. You're side by side phone. You're texting and like answering back right away, but they're pinging it that you're next to each other, texting like you're a dumbass.
Yeah,
The
I
people
mean they
didn't
don't
know that
even
you're
need to
sitting next
ping
to
it
each other.
either. They just know that by the way that those conversations were going, that he was texting himself. It was clear as day because during the hike, he's already taking pictures of things. He's building his case. He's walking around. He's got I got a ride from this person. I was just checking on Gabby. No, you weren't. I mean, when we get to the very end and we talk about that note, well, there's going to be a lot more to that. That just the falsehood that he wrote in that note has
Mm-hmm.
still pissed me off. It's so not true that it's like hilarious, and you'll never know because Mr. Brian here didn't want to tell his side of the story. In fact, after all this, he flew home or took the van,
No,
whatever you want.
he stated to her parents or his sister or whatever, and her parents found out, saying that he flew home, but indeed he did not fly home.
Yeah,
He
took the van.
drove her van back to
Then
Florida,
Venmoed himself
took her card, and sent money to
to himself.
himself.
Say goodbye, Brian. If that's not a scary cryptic message either. Goodbye, Brian. I'll never ask you for another thing again. Well,
Like, yeah,
no,
no
no
shit. You
shit.
just killed her.
Yeah, and then you get all the way back to your home, and the best
You
part
go
is
in
when they
hiding.
start making the calls. So they start making the calls, and the detective and the sergeant from Florida go down to the house. The parents go, "No, we're not going to talk about it." Yeah, Brian's here. Brian's here, but Gabby's
But he's
not.
not talking to you.
Yeah, he's not talking to you. We have a lawyer. Here's my number for my attorney, which the attorney's not answering the phone at 10, 11 o'clock at night, which was said in that as well. And, the parents are like, well, we're not comfortable. We're not going to talk about it. All right, so you already pretty much gave us what we need to know. That's completely sketchy. It makes no sense. Gabby's not with him. Supposedly he left her at a hotel and he took the van back, which wouldn't make sense either. Gabby's the one who owns the van, technically, as we find out later,
So
because they towed
he
it.
goes, yeah, the detectives go, oh, who owns the van? Oh, both of them do. And then he goes
Yep.
back to the car, then goes back to the door and goes, we're going to take the van because indeed they both don't own it. It's hers. We're taking it.
Yep. And dad moved his car, and then you get this is when the media starts going wild. End of the day, just in general, if that's your kid, you'd be wanting to know what happens. You'd want help. You'd want to, if it was Brian in the reverse role, then you'd want to know.
But
But
here's my problem, right? And this is the part they don't show, but this is also information that's out there. Florida PD did not want to help out right away because his mom changed the address back to New York. So now I'm bringing it back, guys, to you earlier when I said you'll find out later why that's like a reasoning why it's messed up. New York has to be the one to file the missing report, but she doesn't live in New York.
goes
So
by
you
where
can't
they live.
investigate in Florida because it's 2 different jurisdictions. So
Yep.
they go, oh,
It's a pain in the ass.
yeah. So you got the Florida PD like, oh, you want us to go to the house because she hasn't talked to her mom in a couple days? Like, bro, like it's sketchy. You guys talk every day at a certain time, and now you haven't talked to her in 10 days. That's not sketchy.
Nope. And that was the biggest pain in the ass because, it does go by residence. And when mom moved that back to there for Brian, moved Gabby's address back there, that kind of screwed that part up, which delayed the investigation in Florida because originally it would have been a Florida problem if her address was still Florida. Problem is when you're a van lifer and they have to go by your hometown of residence, wherever your home address was at that time is who has to investigate it. And then you got to call. It's more phone to phone contact than face to face. And, The problem is they weren't going to talk to Florida. So Florida's just going in there and they keep knocking. They're not going to get anything from the parents. They're not going to say anything.
No, because they got their lawyer.
Yeah, so they had to either wait to contact the attorney, but at least they got the van right away, which is good. They got the van. Problem was none of the evidence was in that van. We all knew it. Majority of that stuff was probably wiped up. And the only thing they got out of that later down the road was the computer files to determine when she was still alive, which was around like 8:30, I believe they said at night that she was still alive, moving files around. So he waited till after she was done at least, which screw him. It's fucked up. And then you get to the point where the sister comes out and lies about all that stuff.
Yep.
They went camping. They went camping when he got back.
Guys,
they went camping
for 4 days when he got back.
Yeah.
Like to me, I took that as like a celebration.
Yep. He went camping. He thought he's all good to go. They did the 4 days. Apparently, the sister left after 4 hours. No, she didn't. So she lied about that, obviously. There's a lot. The family is very good at generating a web of lies for this. It's very clear. And then they got media attention. They got people down there, hordes of people seeking justice for Gabby, And they went on living. The guy was out there mowing his lawn with them taking pictures, videos, and just trying to like ask him questions. I'm like, this dude is just mowing his lawn like it's an average day.
He doesn't give a
you
shit.
Have a horde of people.
People are coming to your house like, "Where's Gabby? Where's Gabby?" And you're just like,
yeah. Headphones on, not listening to a thing. He goes out to his truck, rips the posters off the truck. It's just fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. They had that search. They were trying to do the search, but the problem is they couldn't narrow it down. They went to social media, which is a big, big help nowadays, which people, sometimes it's often forgotten how quickly investigations can be helped out with. Oh, that's Gabby's van. The people who found out they had Gabby's van with the updated timeline.
So what Paul's getting at is there's a community of people, and Paul's dog just scared the fuck out of me. It just went super loud on my fucking headphones. There's a community. I'm sure you see it on TikTok, YouTube, whatever. There's a people that all do van life shit. So they actually came across the van being parked during a certain time at the campsite that she was found at. Which brings it back. They're the same ones. If you slow down the video, see the red pickup truck, which looks like his dad's, in the same exact video where the timetable pinpoints where she was.
Yeah. And it's end of the day, too, like as you start to get further into it, they lose track of Brian. It's nuts. All right. So they lose track of him. Like I said, any number of things could make you lose track of them. You have the horde of people that you're trying to keep off their property because they still have to enforce that. You're watching the mom, dad, and everyone and their mother come and go from that house all day. It's very easy for Brian to slip out real quick without being noticed at first.
See, here's where I'm kind of flabbergasted about is why weren't there cops sitting on the house?
Well, from what I understand, they didn't really tell you if they were or weren't. I know they were using the cameras. That's the problem. They don't tell you whether or not they had like a cruiser just kind of stationed there. Also, if you're a cop, problem is if you station right on the house, you're not going to get anything because he's never going to leave the house, whatever. So he's just going to stay there. Your goal is to kind of like kick back a little bit so you can try and tail him if he goes somewhere to see if he's going to lead you. Obviously, he's not going to lead you, Gabby, because she's in another state at this point. But I mean, worst case is he's going to walk off and go camping again, and then you're manhunting him regardless. There was really nothing they could have done either yet because they couldn't have arrested him because they didn't have the warrant yet. They didn't get that until they got more information. If they had the warrant, yeah, if you see him come out the house, I mean, you could even go in the house and get him at that point because he's in the house. So, I mean, that's the difference. That warrant made the big difference, and that's when the search kicks into full gear for him. But you got to find Gabby first. You need the actual body to tie it.
If you watch the actual documentary, guys, it's very, very heartbreaking and very, very frustrating to see some of the things that went on. Like, we're obviously not trying to give you everything. We're just giving you breakdown by breakdown, like giving our opinions. Like, we highly recommend you go watch it on Netflix. It's the What Happened to Gabby Petito or the Murder.
It's about an hour and a half.
Couple of out there. There's 3 episodes, all about 40 minutes long. Just if you guys really want to know more information, this documentary really gives you a lot of insight to what actually happened, a lot of more videos, a lot of more pictures, a lot more of everything that we didn't get in previous ones.
Yeah. I mean, we got to get down to the biggest piece of that, which was definitely the notes. The mother's notes to her son that said burn after reading.
Yeah.
The fact that that was there, it said burn after reading, should show you it's a red flag. And then she mentioned that if you killed someone, I would be there with a trash bag and a shovel to help bury the body. Yep, she would bake a cake with a file in it to break him out of jail. She knew he was guilty. She knew he was fucked up, and she didn't care. That was cryptic. That was a crazy note. I cannot believe that was written and just left there. It's shocking.
She wanted it to be found, and I think in some way she knew that she felt guilty, because I still cold-heartedly believe that they had something to do with it.
No, without a doubt, they 100%. Even if they didn't do any of that, if they didn't kill her, they didn't go down there and bury her, they still harbored him, knowing full well that he killed her. So in any way you look at this, they're a part of this.
Guilty by association, man.
Yeah. Any way you look at it, they had a part in this. They paid a lawyer $25,000. You don't pay that kind of money to a lawyer for no reason.
Yeah,
they already knew.
Don't think that your son's guilty. You don't even make the phone call.
Yep. So they already knew. They knew long ago, and like I said, I really, really hope someday they get hit with a charge and they get to pull out those phone conversations, because that would knock the case on its ass. I feel like we'd hear so much revealing stuff that would by far be the nail in the coffin for all that. Because there's no way that they don't discuss everything. There's no way. 55 minutes? No
55-minute phone call, you go, hey, mom, even if he accidentally did it or whatever because he got mad, okay, whatever, bro. You still need to come out and face the consequences. But instead, I'm going to use quotations, guys. You quote unquote kill yourself. Why the fuck's there confetti?
Because you quote unquote.
Yo, I like that. Quote unquote killed yourself, guy.
Oh, now the confetti's gone.
Oh, give me the confetti, guys. I thought that was never had that effect happen, but I like that. You are not dead. I honestly don't. There's a lot of people out there on TikTok that have been seeing people that look exactly like this guy. I honestly think that they gave him enough time to go and fly somewhere where there's no extradition.
He's camping somewhere. He's also living in the woods. He's a guy who was already a wilderness person. They said he likes the camp. He's camping in the woods
somewhere in like Mexico.
Yep. He's somewhere
where he can't be brought back here.
I didn't see, normally I would have thought they would have shown pictures of the remains. They didn't show pictures of the remains. I really wish they did, because, you'd be able to tell a lot just by looking at the pictures. When he left that note, which is the piece de resistance, saying the story that he made up was the most bullshit story I've ever heard It was the most bullshit story I've ever heard in my life. They were out camping. It was late. She slipped, fell, was in pain, couldn't tell him where. She was gasping. The temperature dropped. She was like begging to be put out of her misery. Not true. I don't buy it for a singular second.
It is bullshit.
And then they said it. It was a staged scene when they found Gabby. She was over on her side. There's an attempt to light a fire. Her boots were off. She was wrapped in her sweater.
So
they said that he staged
was that she was laying downhill with her head facing downhill. But a lot of people know if you're laying on a hill, whatever, you lay uphill, because you're not going to have the blood rush to your head.
Mm-hmm. And then cause of death, blunt force trauma, and strangulation. Yeah. That's not a merciful death for anyone either. Strangulation is not 1, 2, 3. It's done. I still to this moment can't believe that he would even have the nerve. At the end of everything, you shoot yourself, supposedly. Whatever.
I honestly would have been like, if somebody shot and killed him, I would have took that, because it's like, payback's a bitch. But you took.
I'm just saying, like, if you shoot and kill yourself, but then you write that note that is complete falsehood. How do you have the nerve to even write that? I would have put that note after it's been documented, I would have thrown that in the fire. That is such a lie. It's such a joke that he even mentioned the way he did. He was going to go to New York and confront her parents. He was going to do this, that, and he is a professional liar. Professional.
You're gonna go to New York to admit that you killed their daughter? Like you there's no way you were gonna do that.
No, you weren't. You went right home. You went right home first. You were never going to go there. You
went
knew
to
that
where
they
you
would.
felt safe because you knew that they would hide your secret for you.
Yep. And now they have it, and I'm hoping, that they'll, not saying be harassed, but I hope that, every now and then people just start putting up Gabby posters out on that area and just be like, hey, you remember her?
So people, since the new documentaries come out, has been throwing laundry baskets on their front lawn because they got dirty laundry that they're not airing out.
Which is true. I would love to hear the full, like I said, they have nothing to hide. I'd love to hear them release that conversation in 55 minutes. I would love it. I absolutely would love it. There's no way those parents' hands are clean in any of this. And the fact that they can go on about their day, go to bed every night, not guilty conscience at all, that just goes to show you there's something missing in there. I can't believe it. To be honest, I'm surprised there hasn't been a well-being check. A normal person probably couldn't live with themselves. That's, they hit all that, and I don't know. I think it's bad.
Sick fuck to still hide it.
Yeah, the fact that I would love to see if they would ever come to and admit that Brian just vanished. He went and go to Mexico. He went to wherever there's no extradition. He's just camping and living his life still. God forbid if he finds another woman while he's out living off the grid. Lord help it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's hitting other women and nobody wants to come forward. But I mean, if this is the time to come forward.
Like I said at the very beginning of this, that friend of theirs, the mutual friend, is lucky that she didn't say anything about how she liked Brian, because this would have been a different murder, in my opinion. I feel like this would have been a different death. Gabby would have still been alive, but her friend would have been died, and Gabby would have been in the other position. And it's just crazy. That's how close it came. But then he found Gabby, and then he locked in, and that was it.
And Gabby was a beautiful soul.
Yeah,
she had a lot of potential. Her parents say that she was out there in the art world, and she just loved to have fun and be the light of let's say the heart of the party. But she wasn't like a party animal, but she would like to be the sunshine, the sun ray on your day. And he took that away from other people.
Yeah, I mean, if you also look at it, I don't know, if you haven't watched the documentary, please just know at the end of the documentary, they did finally tell everyone that her one video of her vlog has been released. It has hit 5 to 7 million views, I believe now. Anyone who wants to watch it, please go watch it. I'm sure that it goes to supporting the foundation that her parents set up for women who are in her situation. Like I tell everyone, there's many resources out there for those who are in this situation. It's not easy, and it's definitely not easy to get them to see that they need help. And you can only push so far and so hard before it can make it worse. So, like we said at the beginning of this, if you know someone in these situations, do your best to help them, but know that regardless of what happens, you've done all you can. Sometimes there is nothing more you can do, and it sucks, it miserably sucks. You see it as law enforcement officers, you see it just as a person and a friend. It's not a fun thing to see, not a fun thing to witness, and not a fun thing to have no control over.
No,
it's not fun.
It's not.
So, end of the day, I think everyone should at least go view that video. Like I said, I think it also goes towards helping that foundation.
I tried going on YouTube and finding her channel, but I wasn't able to find it.
I don't know if it ever went out as a channel.
Video wasn't up. I found her channel because the Max one actually showed it, but I don't remember actually seeing the video on there.
I don't know when it was released. I don't know how. They said it went to 5 million views. Maybe the parents requested it come down. I don't know. I hope they didn't. They're the ones who also set up that foundation. Just
if you guys are wondering, it's the Gabby Petito Foundation, and it's the GabbyPetitoFoundation.org if you guys want to go to it.
Yeah, just check it out. It's very helpful. They put all their foundation money into that, and there's programs around here that I use to when we have to deal with these situations. Every town, every city has something. So, there's options out there. It's just finding them. And like we said, you can't always get everyone to hear it. And it's rough because that's going on and you don't have control of it. All you can do is try to point it out and just ask them and beg them if they need help to reach out. And when they are ready, they'll reach out, and hopefully it doesn't end up like Gabby. And you can only stop so much.
Yeah, I mean, guys, you can go to the Gabby Petito Foundation and just tell them you're having problems, and they're gonna help you out. They'll help you get to the people that you need to get in touch with to make sure that you're not going to continue on with the situation that you're in.
Yeah, we're approaching our hour mark, so I would like to put out that at the end of this as well, put in any comments, anything we may have missed, anything you guys wanted to talk about, we'll answer in the comments. So we can kind of touch base with people. I'm sure there's going to be things that were missed, maybe something you wanted to hear more of. Just let us know and we can reach out to you guys. We're on the Facebook page, via YouTube, wherever you guys find it easy to reach out. We just opened up a TikTok, so eventually we'll start getting that going as well and get some clips out there. We're going to try and edit some stuff in, maybe get a Gabby video put into the end of this so that you guys can kind of see, what type of person she was. But otherwise, any comments you guys can leave us, any feedback is always appreciated.
Yeah, don't like he said, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to the Gabby Petito Foundation. We're here to help. We're here to listen. We're not going to stray you away or anything like that. But
there may be another one coming out soon. There's going to be a Manson Netflix documentary, and I'm very interested in that one. That one's going to be some crazy shit.
Tune in to week 2. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we're going to figure it out.
Yep. There's going to be a lot of stuff, whether it be sports, whether it be entertainment, whether it be a Netflix documentary. If you guys have anything you want us to watch or talk about, leave it in the comments, and we'll take a tally on it, and we'll see what's popular, and we'll go over that.
Right,
there you go.
We're going to catch you guys next week. Peace.
And